I pushed through the double doors on the back side of a brick building in an out-of-the-way office park in Vista, walking a little faster than usual. I was nervous. I spied the nearest employee, a young woman futzing with a display case, and walked up to her, trying to sound casual. "Hi, I'd like to buy a vibrator." I was over 50 and had never set foot in an adult store in my life. And until a few weeks earlier, never thought I would. I imagined they were located in seedy parts of town, frequented by skanky dudes wearing overcoats. But one day, there I was, typing "Sex Positive Stores San Diego" into a search engine. I pored over Yelp reviews for the closest options, all at least a 30-minute drive from my house. They had names like Adult Emporium, Pleasures and Treasures, and Deja Vu. I peered at the posted photos, trying to imagine myself in each setting. Yelpers consistently praised Deja Vu's Vista location for being spacious, clean, and well organized. One reviewer said, "This is the superstore of sex shops. Like going to Target, if Target sold crotchless underwear and Benoit balls." I decided this was the store for me. I wasn't exactly sure what Benoit balls were, but Target was something I understood. So a week later, I plugged the store's address into my GPS and was on my way to buy my first vibrator. I could have bought one online and never had to interact with another human. But I felt I needed to seek out an actual store. I like reading, so I go to bookstores. And despite some of the shame I'd been carrying around for the previous 35 years, I like sex. So I told myself I should not be embarrassed about going to the Target superstore of sex shops. But that didn't mean I still didn't take a quick glance around the parking lot to check if anyone saw me go in. Fortunately, there were only a few other customers there. Apparently, not many people shop at adult stores at 5 o'clock on a Monday. The girl behind the counter, unfazed, called over her shoulder to another employee nearby, "Can you help her over in toys?" A young woman headed toward me. She had a round face, shoulder-length, wispy, light brown hair, and was wearing a lanyard with a name tag on it that said, Krista. She looked to be about half my age, and had a bounce in her step as she led me over to a section in the front left corner of the store, which, as I looked around, did have a Target-like vibe. Except for the shelf of imposing-looking dildos on the far wall. Oh my, I thought, as a wave of long-ingrained aversion rose in me. The message I got from my woefully inadequate sex ed in school was, sex without birth control can ruin your life. By college, the message was, sex can kill you. From home, I got nothing. Mom never even gave me a rudimentary version of the talk, from which I inferred that sex is embarrassing and not something to be talked about. My family culture valued intellectual and spiritual pursuits. Physical pleasures were lesser, even distasteful, and to be kept in the dark. Krista turned to me. All our toys are over here. What did you have in mind? What did I have in mind? Despite the not exactly sex-positive messages I'd received, I escaped active shaming about masturbation and had been indulging guilt-free as a master of the two-finger tango since age 15. I didn't need a vibrator. I considered myself lucky, in fact, that I didn't require any special equipment. It meant I could orgasm all kinds of places with no one being the wiser. Like a stall in the fifth-floor bathroom of the library in college when I was stressed out over final exams. Or the ladies' room at my job at the Navy when I was stressed out over feeling like an imposter at work. Or once in my 20s, in the middle seat on an airplane under my big winter coat. Just for the hell of it. I used a stealth technique I'd perfected in my sleeping bag at summer camp in a cabin shared with 15 other girls. But along with masturbation mastery came a different secret shame, because when I had sex, no orgasms. I was expecting orgasms. Isn't that how real sex is supposed to be? Isn't that how it is in the movies? Because for me, it never was. Not with one-night stands, not with guys I really liked, not with the ones that broke my heart, and not with the ones whose hearts I broke. Not with anyone, including the one I fell in love with and married. And the more it happened, or more accurately, didn't happen, the worse I felt about myself. There must be something wrong with me. Eventually, I adapted, incorporating my go-to method into the bedroom, but secretly, I felt I must be defective. I never heard anyone talking about it, and I felt like I must be the only one that had this problem. And I felt so ashamed that I could hardly bear to talk about it. Every so often, I'd come across an article in a women's magazine touting sex positions that will blow your mind, and think, maybe that's the problem. I just need to try reverse cowgirl. But if I did get up the nerve to try something new, the results were the same. I gave up. Every failure reinforced my secret shame. I mostly stopped reading sex advice. It was too painful. Just too painful. Until 2 months before walking into Deja Vu, I read a book that changed my life. I tried not to get my hopes up when I picked up Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are. Then I read this passage. The frustrating reality is we've been lied to. For a long time, it was just sort of assumed that since men have orgasms during intercourse, women should too. And if they don't, it's because they're broken. The truth is, only about 30% of women orgasm reliably with intercourse. The other 70% sometimes, rarely, or never orgasm with intercourse, and they're all healthy and normal. I read it again and again and again. And I started to cry. I'm normal. In fact, I'm in the majority. Later, I would read in other sources that the percentage of women who orgasm reliably from intercourse alone could be as low as 18 or even 4%. I'd been assuming I was defective or broken when in fact everything had been functioning perfectly normally. How was I just learning this now that I was over 50? I thought back to my mom. In most ways, she'd been a great mother. But I always resented that she never told me anything about sex. Once when I was in my 30s, I got up the nerve to ask her why. She sighed and said, "Well, you know, I didn't know anything either." Oh, I thought. Then she added, "And I didn't have my first orgasm till I was 40 years old." I let this sink in. I always thought she just didn't want to talk to me about sex. But she'd been left to figure it out on her own, just like I had. Reading Come As You Are triggered a major shift in my thinking. I could discard the damaging cultural myths I'd absorbed about real sex that weren't even grounded in anatomical reality. Instead of feeling ashamed about my sexuality, I could get curious about it. And instead of treating my reliable, my responsive, my beautiful and amazing clitoris like a secondary supporting character, I could treat her like the star she really is. I could buy her a toy. Which led me to be standing in Deja Vu Love Boutique with 25-year-old Krista, who was now pulling a bright purple wand-shaped vibrator out of a box while extolling its virtues. "It's made of body-safe silicone and is rechargeable via USB," she said. "It's also fully submersible." USB? Submersible? She held down the power button and the tip started vibrating at a low hum, as if a drone were hovering nearby. I touched the end, feeling self-conscious. I don't know, I thought, the familiar resistance flaring up. This is silly. "It's also got different patterns," she said. "Keep pressing the power button and it'll cycle through them." Patterns? I cycled the power button and the buzzing got faster, then faster still. The effect was less erotic abandon and more dentist drill. Maybe this isn't for me, I thought. The next setting turned the buzzing into something like a Morse code operator frantically tapping out an emergency message, the vibrator practically jumping out of my hand. Oh, good grief. This is too much. I was just about to give up when I hit the next pattern. It was like a muscle car revving its engine over and over and over. I stopped. The vibrator throbbed in my hand. "That's interesting," I said, looking at Krista. A spark lit in her eyes as she returned my glance with a smile. "Yeah? How much is it?" "7 years ago, my mother passed away. One day, about a year after she died, I was visiting my dad, rummaging in some plastic bins under the sink on what had been my mom's side of the master bathroom, looking for hand lotion, when I saw it. A Hitachi magic wand. Ew, I thought, quickly grabbing the hand lotion I'd been looking for and closing the cupboard. That was not something I needed to see. But now, I wish I'd had more opportunity to talk frankly with her while she was still alive. I wonder if she'd also felt broken and defective, and how much bravery it had taken for her to buy that magic wand. I wish I told her that I realized she was doing the best she could. And I wish I could tell her what I now also knew. You are not broken. You are whole, and you are beautiful. All of us are.
That was Louise Julig.